We have got quite a few artists here tonight from full title Ken Ludwig's The Games Afoot, semicolon, or Holmes for the Holidays. And as a marketing director, I have to tell you that title gave me no end of grief working with the designer to fit it on the postcard. So most of the time we just say The Games Afoot. I'm going to start with Mark, have him introduce himself, our lovely director, and then just pass it on to all the artists we have here from The Games Afoot so we know who everyone is. Mark, say hello.
Hi, I'm Mark Anderson Phillips, the director of this skit. Hi.
Will you pass it on to another Games Afoot artist, please?
Miranda.
Hi, I'm Miranda. I'm the stage manager. I'll pass to Alicia.
Hello, my name is Alicia. I play Inspector Goring.
Oh, want to pass it to someone else, Alicia?
Naomi.
Hi all, my name is Naomi and I am playing Madge, and I will pass it to Lauren.
Hello from Fremont. This is Lauren Burling and I am playing Aggie Wheeler in the show. Damien.
Hi, my name is Damien Vega and I'm playing William Gillette / Sherlock. And I don't see anyone else to pass it to, or at least if my screen's not doing it.
Tom just jumped in.
Tom
Tom,
is here.
There you
go. Tom Goff, I'm playing Felix Geisel.
Yay. Thanks for joining us tonight, Tom. We have almost all of our folks. Anthony may have had a prior commitment, and I know that Gavi, who plays Dara, has a very good excuse for not being here tonight because she has been cast in our next show at City Lights, Nora, A Doll's House, and they start rehearsal tonight. So yay, Gavi, because it's been awesome having her on our stage for the first time and excited to have her back. Yeah, Nora, A Doll's House is a new interpretation on the classic Ibsen play that takes place in 1918, 1968, and 2018. It's going to be really, really interesting. It's a great script. But tonight, here we are in Games Afoot land. Mark, I would love to have Mark start us off. We are always excited when Mark is directing on our stage. He has directed some of the best shows I've seen at City Lights. Most recently, he co-directed Kinky Boots. He directed Blithe Spirit. My personal favorite, 2015, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like this chillingly wonderful straight play that still gives me goosebumps. Mark, we are always happy to have you back. And I know that you have been in a Ken Ludwig play before, and you played Sherlock Holmes, didn't you?
Yes, I was in Baskerville, Ken Ludwig's Baskerville. Yes.
Very nice.
Ken Ludwig always puts his name in front of the title every single time. Ken Ludwig's Baskerville. Yes.
Ken Ludwig's Baskerville. So you are not a newcomer to Ken Ludwig, but I know that one of the things that you found interesting about this play that not everyone may know is that William Gillette, who is played by Damien, and who is the Broadway star renowned for playing Sherlock Holmes, who invites everyone to his Connecticut castle for the weekend. He's actually very loosely based on a real William Gillette. I've got some pictures as well, but Mark, I know, has tons of interesting tidbits about William Gillette. Tell us a little bit about the real William Gillette.
Sure, happy to. And Damien, if you've got stuff that you want to throw in at any time, because I know you've done a lot of research, feel free to just jump in. But I have a lot of stuff that I can say. William Gillette was an actual human. He was born in Hartford, Connecticut in 1853. He died in 1937. So Ken Ludwig, our play, Games Afoot, takes place in 1936. So Gillette would have been 82 at this point. So Ken Ludwig takes a little creative license with that. But he was born in 1853 in Hartford, Connecticut. Some interesting things about him. His father, Francis, was a U.S. senator who was a very progressive thinking kind of guy. He was very into it was the time he was into abolition and women's suffrage and supportive of temperance. That was the other thing that he was very big into. But in Hartford, his neighbors were, and this is true, his neighbors were Mark Twain and Harriet Beecher Stowe, and he was actually very close to Mark Twain. They knew each other very well over his life, until Mark Twain passed away. And so he had 3 brothers. One of them was killed in the Civil War. This is how long ago this is. One of them was killed in the Civil War. One of them was passed away of tuberculosis in California, and the other one moved off to Iowa, where he lived for the rest of his life. And so William was the only one. I believe William was the youngest child, and he was at home by himself during his later childhood. And he always wanted to be an actor. He had the bug in him from the very beginning, and his father was not super happy about this decision. But his dad was a little bit scared about it. But he there's a story that goes that he was given an apprenticeship to do a production of The Gilded Age by Mark Twain. That Mark Twain probably got him the job in Boston, and his dad was driving him to the train station, and this is a story that just really moved me. His dad said, I've taken 2 of your brothers to this train station and they never came home. So I hope this won't happen to you. And so he was a devoted son for the rest of his life, and nothing bad ever happened to him. And he actually quit acting for a year to go home and take care of his pop when his dad was dying. So he started to work in the theater, and he quickly realized over his career that being director, writer, and actor was the best way to make money. And so he started writing plays and directing them and producing them and writing them. And how he got involved with Arthur Conan Doyle, he wrote an adaptation. He wrote a play based on Sherlock Holmes. Arthur Conan Doyle at this point was very disenchanted with the character of Sherlock Holmes. He thought he was stifling him as sort of something that was going to give him literary greatness or something like that. He felt like Sherlock Holmes was done, and he didn't like him anymore, but he needed money to build a house in England. So he wrote a play about Sherlock Holmes, and the play was not very good. And he shopped it to a couple of big actors at the time who both turned it down. And then Gillette's literary agent went over to England and showed him the play and said, "Trust us, we can do this." And so Conan Doyle said, "Sure, okay, go for it." And so it happened, and it turned out to be a really great match. It was a huge success in America and throughout the world. He performed Sherlock more than 1,300 times in his career.
Wow.
And his sort of style of acting, which a lot of people remark on in the biographies I've read, is that he was very sort of what was sort of termed as naturalistic as an actor, which means that he was probably that probably meant at the time was that he was economical in the way that he sort of emoted and things like that. And he used stillness and kind of he was not over expressive with gestures and things like that, which actually turns out really fits the character of Sherlock Holmes really well.
Yeah.
So he kind of is like Sherlock Holmes. I kind of feel like he was like Sherlock Holmes. If you've ever watched, and there's videos of him, there's a couple of videos of him before he passed away. And there's one where, you've seen the one, Damien, where he's by his train, talking about his train, and it's he's just like super reserved and just sort of like hardly emotive at all. But like people went crazy over it. They loved it. They were like, oh, he's like, he can express something by just being still on stage for 5 seconds. It's amazing. So yeah, so it was really kind of a wonderful marriage. And Conan Doyle and Gillette became good friends over the course of their lifetimes. Conan Doyle died many years, about 10 years before Gillette died. But they were very close, and they were good buds. And he is responsible, I think, in a lot of ways for creating a lot of the iconography and the sort of he's more responsible for what we think of as Sherlock Holmes than he's given credit for. I think,
like the curved pipe, and the
I mean, and there's a lot of good. Yeah, he created the Deerstalker, all that kind of stuff. It's said anecdotally that he created Elementary, My Dear Fellow, which later became Elementary, My Dear Watson. That he created that phrase. But like, the curved pipe and stuff, there's a lot of interesting reasons why he did the things he did. The curved pipe was basically because in the old Strand magazine, he was illustrated with a straight pipe. And Gillette felt that was very hard to speak with a straight pipe in your mouth. It goes up and down and looks really stupid, and it's very hard to talk. And if you have a curved pipe, you can sort of talk and your face is clear. So a lot of these decisions were practical decisions, and the magnifying glass, the big magnifying glass, which is something that he also originated because Holmes used a small sort of pocket magnifier, was basically because it could be seen better from the audience.
Yeah.
So, and then he was married. His wife Helen died very young. He never remarried. He built his castle in Connecticut because he had made so much money doing Sherlock Holmes and many other things. He wrote about 13 plays in his lifetime, and some of them are still available for production, because some of them are still very good, are very good. But he wrote about 13 plays, and then he built the castle in Connecticut, which cost, I believe it was completed in 1919, and it cost $1.1 million in 1919, which is the equivalent of about $15 million now. If I encourage all of you to please go on the website for the Gillette Castle. It's a trip, and you will enjoy yourself.
I've got a picture here too, Mark. A couple.
Oh, great.
Let me just spotlight. Yeah. So from the website, you can take a virtual tour of Gillette's castle. And so that inspired our scenic designer, Ron Gasparnetti, to make the set for Games Afoot look very castle-like.
Yeah, and the interior is crazy too. It's beautiful, but there's a ton of craftsmanship, but it's really quite odd. Yeah. So and this is actually, it's a state park now. So if you're ever in East Haddam, Connecticut, and you want to go see William Gillette's house, you are free to go and visit it. And they decorate for the holidays. It's awesome.
And here he is with his pipe, and he looks a little bit like Damien. I think you guys look a little bit alike.
Yeah, you think so? Kind of, sort of.
A little
That's
bit.
why I was cast.
Yeah, that's the only reason. And this is from the Broadway production of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, wow.
I wrote this down. George Wessel as Dr. Moriarty, and Catherine Florence as Alice Faulkner. You know, those famous actors who we've all heard of.
Mhm.
So yeah, you've got kind of a castle going there too.
That's a cool set. I love that set.
Yeah, that's a really cool set. Yeah,
So
so what a character, but as you said, Ken Ludwig very loosely based the character on him, since we don't know if William Gillette actually had a murder in his house during a theater weekend party.
no, I'm pretty sure he didn't ever have a murder in his house. Yeah. I think Ken was relying on the fact that not many people know who William Gillette is. But on the good side of it, it's good that people find out about him, because he was actually an important guy in the development of this character, and the staying power of this character. And I think Arthur Conan Doyle would admit to that readily. He was very, very thankful to William Gillette for all he did. William Gillette famously retired like 8 times during his career and kept coming back. And like in 1929 or something like that, he did his very last performance as Sherlock Holmes, and they had a bunch of famous people there, and Doyle sent a letter saying, what you've done to my anemic little character on the written page is worth more than I can ever say. He was he knew that William Gillette had done something remarkable to this character, and made it into something that was going to endure. I mean, it may have happened without William Gillette, but the fact that William Gillette was around and knew and was there to actually know the author makes a huge difference, in my opinion. That it wasn't like Basil Rathbone, who never would have known Arthur Conan Doyle or any of the guys who subsequently played him. But it's like, if it wasn't for William Gillette, I don't know what would have happened. But he was an important figure in this character's development.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
So you had some interesting shoes to step into, Damien.
Yes, I did.
Tell us about what drew you to this part and this play, and what was it like jumping into his shoes?
Well, mostly I was excited to get a chance to work with Mark. I've tried in the past and almost did once, and then COVID hit, and that went by the wayside, unfortunately. But yeah, I've been admiring his work for years, both as an actor, as a director, mostly just because that's all the shows I've seen at City Lights. And yeah, I mean, I think Lisa Millet's description during the season announcement about what the play was about and how it was described, and I'll let you repeat the description because I can't say it verbatim, but I think that just kind of hearing all that and knowing each of those shows individually and how much fun they are, and then combining all 3 of them together sounded like a blast. And so I was able to read the play before the auditions, and yeah, it was great. I mean, I was drawn to Richard. I was also I was drawn to William, but I was also drawn to Felix. Both are great parts, so I would have been, either one would have been perfectly fine. But I ended up with William, which has been great. It's been great, and Mark was really instrumental in any kind of knowledge I had as far as William going in. I mean, he kind of steered me in the right direction when it came to like looking at the videos that were available online, and then after watching the silent film that William actually filmed, the version of it, which silent films takes a long time to get through the dialogue, because you watched all this stuff and then the dialogue is like 1 page, and it was a lot more said. But after watching that, I ordered the actual play that he wrote just so I could read about it, and it didn't, I mean, we don't really touch on the play itself, but it kind of gave me a little bit of a sense of what he was, at least as he acted Sherlock Holmes. And but as far as the character of William, there wasn't much available that I found of him other than the little videos that Mark referred to of him talking online. And like I said, the actual speaking ones, he was already up in his 80s, I believe, at the time when he was speaking. Right. And so I couldn't really take anything from his voice, and like it's described, I mean, no one really knows who he is anyway, so I wasn't trying to do any kind of copy of who he was.
Like there's not someone who's going to say the William Gillette I knew. He just wasn't.
Yeah. And I mean, it definitely sounds like, especially from the description Mark just gave, as far as how he was kind of in his real life, speaking personality, and as he was as Sherlock Holmes, that I'm definitely nothing like that in my regular life as far as how I'm acting. So I don't think my version of him as Gillette is probably anything near what the real William Gillette was in his real life, because I think I'm a little bit more animated than that in the way I come across. But still, it was great to have those resources available to be able to see it, and I think it's always probably it was beneficial that he was over 100 years ago, that he wasn't going to be someone that people remembered so quickly that I was like, all right, I have to come up with something that people readily know who this person was like, and then they're going to be comparing me to that. But no, I mean, it was definitely a great opportunity to have, and I was grateful for the chance to do it. The biggest role to date, and it's been a workout, but hopefully I'm doing it justice.
It's interesting that you say workout, and you also mentioned that this is a play that has some similar feels to some other shows we've done in the past, because it's not just a mystery, it's a comedy. So it's a little bit Blythe Spirit, it's a little bit The Hollow, Agatha Christie's The Hollow, which we did last season, which you were also in. And I laughed out loud so many times reading the script, and then of course seeing it on the stage. All of you just brought this great dynamic spirit, because it can't be just a mystery, it's got to be funny, and it moves along at this great clip. When you say workout, I don't think I'm giving too much away to say that Damien and Tom spend a chunk of the play carrying a body around the stage, a body who is actually a living actor person. And there's a great deal of physical comedy that is just done so well, that like the timing's great. I don't want to give anything away, but I want to hear a little bit about that rehearsal process. Like, what was challenging about that? Did you have any mishaps? Tom, obviously you have a great deal of experience with stage combat and various kinds of movement on stage. Tom, tell us, what was the rehearsal bit?
Well, I'm getting older, so it's not getting any easier. I did a Ken Ludwig farce in grad school 30 years ago, Lend Me a Tenor, and I played the character that was much older, and I played a character that's a bit younger. But I mean, we kind of talked about this in the talk back a little bit. The biggest kind of effect to our timing was the fact that we were rehearsing a great deal of this play in the Notre Dame chapel across the street, while Notre Dame High School was using the theater, and that's a much smaller space. So the timing of things was certainly thrown off there. But yeah, there's a lot more, I think, precision than most people realize that goes into hurling a live body around that's playing dead. Damien and I have specific triggers as to when we're ready to go, and Gavi also helps a little bit whenever she can by cheating a little to help some of that. But ultimately it is, and actually the biggest challenge is her costume, because her costume is so flowy.
Actually, let's not say too much, because we don't want to give away who actually dies.
I'm just going to say her costume is flowy.
The costume is flowy.
That trying to get a grip on her through her costume is an adventure every night, or every show.
And when we moved from the chapel to our stage, I remember, I don't know if it was Tom or Dave, somebody said there's so much real estate now, like, because we have so much more room, so it's a lot of back and forth, and it's a lot more steps involved than we had originally planned. But it was it was not a long, but it was intense figuring all that out and being safe and everything like that. But it was fun to watch for sure.
And I still managed to smack her in the nose a couple of times, but nothing major has happened yet. So
yeah, I'd say we didn't get into the theater until about about a week and a half almost before dress rehearsal. So we had a short amount of time in there. And I was just realizing that this coming Sunday is it's just 2 months since we started this thing. So we had to do a lot in a short amount of time. But when we got into this theater, not only were we added with at least twice, if not more, space to have to cover and learn how to almost reblock it and then use the space more, but then we started putting on some very thick and heavy costumes and trying to do that at the same time. And I'm sure Tom and I, between us, drop about 10 pounds per night, wearing these costumes and going through all this stuff. I know I certainly do. And
I should say, Katie, our costumer, is here, and they are magnificent.
So they are. They're beautiful. It's
and very functional.
I do want to apologize that I costumed a winter show in California. No, it's Christmas.
Yeah, the costumes are just gorgeous. All the colors of the costumes, the lighting, the scenic design, it's just such like, I remember when we first got the production photos, I was like, it's just so rich and the colors are so gorgeous. Yeah, it's beautiful work.
And something that was kind of discussed is like, it's described as like Art Deco, but we moved away from that as well. And I think that was a good choice because everything's so vibrant and rich, and Art Deco, it's kind of like, I don't want to say stuck, but it's also just like the silver, gold, black, like that's kind of what it is. But this has so much color on stage, it's wonderful. And with the costumes and looks and everything.
Including Alicia's winter socks. When those boots come off and those winter socks.
I'm so glad you noticed. It's one of my favorite little details about my costume, both because they are specifically Christmas socks, and I somehow don't realize it's Christmas until Gillette mentions it. So I think that's very funny.
Yeah, Alicia, you have an interesting part in that you're not in Act 1 at all. You come in Act 2 as the inspector, who is trying to make sense of all this, and I absolutely adore your character because the inspector is British. So first we think, okay, really going to be sort of uptight, but oh my goodness, this person is hilarious. And you've got to do it all with a British accent, which no one else has to deal with in this show.
That's not true. Damien has to put on a British accent for a bit, and we both work very hard.
Yeah. But you've got to do it the whole time.
Yes, but it's a blast. It's nice because then I got to really just sit like on our last dress when Christian was taking photos. I got to sit in the audience and just watch all of Act 1 in its entirety. And man, this is some funny people. This is a great cast. This is a good show. And I'm saying that not biased. I'm not in that act. It's great.
Just the timing. I think, Naomi, I've heard you say that one of your favorite parts of the show is the recap when you're talking about, like, I think maybe this is how it happened. And this is how it happened. And let's recap it. And it's just like the timing is just spot on. It was like several scenes in Blythe Spirit were the same way, where I was like, yeah, it's like music. The timing is so perfect. I think you said, am I right, Naomi, that you said that was your favorite scene to do?
Yeah, no, it's hysterical. And again, I want to be mindful of spoilers, but it's just like I said, it's the fast pace, it's the excitement that we all collectively have, and like being that smart and putting the pieces together. It's my character especially, like, again, not spoiling, but there's a line I have about the human that did it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're a sociopath. And the notes one night Mark was like, you love that they're a sociopath, and I was like, okay, great. I do. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, just the timing and the pacing is just fantastic. And it makes me think too about this is a question for anyone, all the artists, about if there's anything special that you do before you go on stage. Because of course, with Tom and Damien, of course, there's got to be some kind of physical warm-ups.
Stretch.
Yeah, stretch. I mean, do you have vocal warm-ups that you do? Because you've got to get a lot of these lines out. Anybody, what's your pre-show routine? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, we have a fight call, which is kind of an industry mandatory effect that we run through the main parts of the quote unquote stage violence, which there are 5 elements that we run through before each show. And that kind of becomes part of the warm up. But the idea behind a fight call is to put the, the dangerous staged violence stuff, which is choreographed and which is meant to be, you know, an illusion. It's meant to be give off the illusion of violence, that it's in your body before you go on stage and have to bifurcate your focus in several different directions. So that's kind of part of the conventional warm-ups. You know, as I said, I sort of each day I sort of take inventory. Okay, is my knee swelling today? Is it, okay, we're good.
I know I see Gavi do a lot of tongue twisters.
Mm.
Gavi does a lot. And then she has her phone and she's doing something with them, but she kind of wanders around and does stuff because she has that, well, I think it's like transatlantic accent sort of as well. So she also kind of does that. I know I see her do that all the time because I'm like, where's she wander? And I find her. So
I usually check out the snacks. We have a
check out
lot
the
of a lot of people that have been bringing snacks.
Naomi's warm up is to inventory the snacks. Yeah.
Guilty.
I tried to at least once a week, like usually on Thursday, to just I have voice memos in my phone, which is like how I learn my lines, and I just run through all my lines once at least on Thursday, so I can lock in the accent and just make sure they haven't disappeared in a week. They usually haven't.
Fingers crossed. I'm not too worried about you, considering Alicia learned an entire lead role in like 9 days for Miss You Like Hell.
That's right.
Yay!
Yeah. I got to record I recorded the first read through we did, and that's helped me learn my lines because I got a long commute for work, so I just let's do it over and over again. And now that we've opened, I still will listen to it probably once a week, just so I don't lose it on the time off we had, especially with the first break we had, which was 5 days, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're used to doing there every day, 6 days, yes, it was 6 days. It doesn't seem like a lot, but actually it can be if you're used to doing it daily every day and then you get that much time off. And so.
And then because we had Thanksgiving off and then we had Saturday before. So it felt long too. It did.
Yeah.
I think particularly in a show like this, having your lines really in you, it's so important, because if you just wait a second too long, the joke falls flat. So we're just like, we got to have them in there to be almost on top of each other to really keep the energy going.
Totally. Yeah. How about you, Lauren? What do you do before you go on? I mean, you put on those awesome shoes. Lauren has these beautiful
I do.
strap heels. I love those shoes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I appreciate what Alicia just said about the lines. It's just like Mark always says, it's very technical. So and that's something that I appreciate a lot, because like I feel like that's like a nice set thing to rehearse. And so I kind of do the same thing. I just kind of go through all the lines. Sometimes I'll actually read the lines too, because I'm kind of a visual person. So a lot of times I will be quickly just kind of flipping through the script and just making sure. And that's also an opportunity for me to like actually see if there's something that I haven't been saying this entire time, or making sure that I'm actually like saying what's written in the script.
Always a good thing.
I remember Lillian saying that she listens to the read through as well on her long trip, because she's coming from Santa Cruz. So she usually listens to it as well. Yeah. She tries, and then they also run things backstage all the time. I see everybody, in pairs or groups, and it's nice because everybody's just on top of it. I don't have to worry at all. It's nice.
Yeah, just to reiterate, if you don't recognize Miranda, it's because she is the stage manager and she is making everything happen behind the scenes. She's making the magic happen behind the scenes.
I'm very busy. I've got a lot of buttons to push. It's nice.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I have more questions that I can ask our actors, but if anyone in the audience feels that they have something to say, feel free to type something into the chat or raise your hand. I'm curious to know, I'll go jump in with another question and, add anything in you want. What kind of reaction are you getting from the audience? Do you have any audience members who are coming up saying like, oh, I guessed the murder. I knew it was blah, blah, blah. Because I personally never guess the murder in mysteries. I just get taken along by the story? Like, what are your audience members saying? Alicia, you look like you have something to say.
I get a lot of it's actually not about the show. People are enjoying it. But I get a lot of comments about the costumes. Oh my God, you guys look amazing. Your costumes are so gorgeous. And I was like, that's Katie. It's amazing.
Nice.
One of my favorite things when we do the on-stage party is typically everyone I speak to, I ask if they know who did it. And I'm actually very pleasantly surprised and happy to say that most people have not. Like, there's a lot of incorrect guesses. I feel like there's only been one, like maybe two, that have been like, yes, I knew it, and I knew it the whole time.
Nice. And one thing that reminds me of Naomi is that we City Lights, we've always had post-show parties up on stage. And so the audience was invited to come up on the set, and we hadn't done that very much because of COVID. And it's when I was there opening night and preview night, it was such a pleasure to have everybody be up on stage. People are taking selfies in front of the Christmas tree. They're seeing all the little Easter eggs on the set. Like, some of you may not have noticed, but there's a corner where there's photos on the wall of actors who have played Sherlock Holmes in various iterations. And it's this beautiful corner piece with this gorgeous wallpaper. So, I mean, it's really a treat to be back up on stage as the after party. So that's fun.
I think that's one of the things I'm going to miss the most is being on that stage, because it is, no, wonderful to spend time on it. But even in the after party, I steer people towards the Holmes pictures or to look around, and they're just like kids visiting FAO Schwartz. I mean, it's like it's really an impressive place to be, and of course Mark has all of his private little toys and furnishings around there too. That hopefully they'll make it back to his house before we get a hold of them.
Oh, no. Mark, I didn't know that I know. So our scenic designer, Ron Gasparnetti, always has all kinds of interesting Easter eggs on where there are some things that you lent. Mark, was the train yours? The train that goes around the tree?
The train is mine. Yeah. The Sherlock wall was my idea.
I love that.
I printed all those pictures. That weird lion head rocking chair is mine. The telephone table is mine. The floor lamp. There's a bunch of stuff on the set that's mine. But
is the yak yours?
No, thank God the yak is not mine. If it was mine, I would donate it to City Lights.
That's probably what I've been asked the most about after the show.
Is the yak?
That?
It is, yeah. Alicia has some interesting Instagram videos up of them interacting with the yak.
I really enjoy taxidermy, so the yak tickled my imagination. I love him.
He's a beautiful creature, but boy, how do you bring it into your home? I mean,
Ron said was quite a project to get it up there because it
weighs
very heavy.
It's really heavy. Yeah. He did it by himself too.
Those teeth, man.
Yeah, I don't like the teeth. The teeth are creepy. But yeah, it's an enormous yak. And then in contrast, you have Lillian's character with this little tiny dog. And my mom asked me after the show, "Hi, Mom, was that a real dog?" Like, no, the dog didn't sit that still. It's a little tiny dog. I think I actually showed her the dog on the prop table. The dog cracks me up.
Carol asked if the yak had a name. I think we named him, right?
Oh, good question.
Me and Jordan decided his name was Benson, but that has not been widely agreed upon. So, whatever you feel in your heart is his name. I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
Nice. Yeah, so that was the question that came up in the chat. Oh, we had a nice comment from Dan who really enjoyed it. It was very fun to explore the stage after the show. And a Zoom user, anonymous Zoom user, says, "Really fun play. I appreciate the whole production staff." Yeah, it's a great team. Great team. Nice big cast, and you all interact so well. And it's fun because we have some new people, but then we have a lot of people who came back from other shows. Like, you may not realize that Anthony, who played Simon, was one of Lola's angels in Kinky Boots. A slightly different look, and does not have to dance in high heels at all in this show. So that's great. Lauren, people probably recognize you from Kinky Boots because you don't look quite as different as your Kinky Boots character. And Damien in The Hollow, I'm so sorry, but you were killed in The Hollow.
Yeah, at least I, get to be on this one for both acts. That's a change.
You survived to enter into Act
Yeah.
2. That's right.
Yeah. Alicia and I swapped acts this time. So
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
Yep. And Naomi was in Kinky Boots and Miss You Like How. I mean, there's and Tom has been in everything. So there's many folks who've come back.
Not
It's just
been in everything.
you've been in so many shows, and we're always
Kind of
happy
have.
to have you. Now, this was one of the shows where I looked at the cast list when it was announced, and I was like, yes, this is gonna be great. So it's great. Anybody have any favorite moments from the show they want to share? If you haven't talked about your favorite moment yet, I always love it when actors or directors choose their favorite moment, like your favorite line. I will go first. My favorite line is when Tom complains that, and I'm going to misquote it, about the lump of rare roast beef, where you say that a theater critic described your performance
As a lump of roast beef.
as
Yes.
a lump of roast beef. Yes, because you say it in just the right amount of peak. It's just
With a freight train of disdain in my voice. Yes.
Anybody else? What's your favorite moment from the show?
I like watching the bar open and close. I know it was a lot of struggle to get that thing to work, but it was a lot of fun. And I like pushing and hearing the noises, and then the crew's doing so good. We have Olivia and Jordan, and they're working so hard back there, and props to them. They're doing great. But I like watching it come on and off and seeing how it works. That's probably my favorite. That whole the whole section of Act 2, probably. I love watching that. It's a lot of fun.
And Miranda, Dan is asking in the chat, how many people does it take to work the bar? So you've got
2.
two
So we
people.
have one opening the flat, or the and then one is pushing it out. So only 2, which is pretty good considering, and it's heavy. It's a heavy piece just by itself. So, and there's a lot of stuff on it. Yeah.
There's another neat effect that I like, is the tinny sound of the voices through the intercom in the castle. And how much of that is recorded and how much of that is happening live?
So a lot of it's recorded. Yeah, it's all recorded, actually.
It's all recorded. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all recorded. And then when he speaks into it, has a mic. It's a mic in there that George added.
So anything coming from off stage is recorded. If it's on stage, it's live.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And props to George Pizarras, our sound designer. But there's just a little bit of tinniness, so it's really, it has that cool old-fashioned sound to it. I love that.
I have one favorite moment, which I can't really give away.
I know,
but
Lauren said that too.
But it's sort of, it represents the momentum of farce. That farce, the first act is fairly filled with exposition. You've got to learn about what's going on and what's happening. And then it's like towards the end of the first act, you're fired out of a pistol, and the beginning of the second act is pure farce. And I have a line that comes kind of midway through the first scene of the second act where all of the crap is happening, and it just represents all the frustration that Felix is feeling at that moment, and how many more things could possibly go wrong. And it's not one that is inherently funny, but I like my interpretation of my reaction that makes it rewarding for me.
Yeah, one of my
I'm
favorite.
debating whether I should say it or not.
I think I know which line you mean, but
I think I do too.
Which one is it, Mark? See if Mark can guess.
Okay, how about we'll do this? If you haven't seen the show, mute everything just for a second while Tom says the line.
I don't think we're giving that much away, really.
Which line is it?
Of course I lifted it properly. No.
Oh, that's close. It's very close to that one.
I thought it was Don't You Ever Ask Me.
Yeah,
nope.
That one.
Just before that.
Oh.
My mother did this or something like that.
It's what?
Oh, my mother? Yeah.
No, it's because I'm not touching her again.
Oh, okay.
Okay, people who haven't seen the show, you can come back.
Okay.
There's a couple of comments in the chat, and I think Lauren wanted to say something. Zoom user says favorite character is Dara and her sparkly gown. Daria. Oh God, Daria. Whoever, the person who writes about things. Dan says the sound and lighting design were great. I really enjoyed the thunder and lightning effects, particularly. Yes, good stuff. Yes, more props to George. Yep. Lauren, you look like you wanted to say something when you were talking about favorite lines.
Oh yeah. I wanted to make a comment on something that Tom said about, you know, how the first act and the second act they're quite different from each other. And a lot of times when I hear feedback about the show, a lot of what I'm hearing is like, I really loved the second act, you know, like it really picks up in the second act. I'm someone who I am a fan of the first act personally. I like them both, obviously, but something about the first act, I mean, I love that, and like that exposition and getting to know everyone. I think I just love the charm of it all. And for me, something that, you know, I'm thinking of like moments that I'm okay sharing with everyone. And one of my lines in the first act is one of my favorite moments in the show. And it's when I say, "The game's afoot." Wow. Yeah.
I like that line too. It's so Aggie Wheeler Ingenue. It's
Exactly.
so
It's very, very Aggie, and it's the title of the show. And I feel like it just gets things rolling, you know? I love that part.
There's something about it that feels very period too. It makes it doesn't feel modern. It feels like somebody saying that in the 1930s. And I love the way you deliver that line.
And that cues the first lightning and thunder. So, you know,
is that the first one?
That's the first one. Yeah.
There you
And then it
go.
just keeps going. So it's even better. Yeah.
I personally got a lot of favorite parts in the show, so I won't nail one down, but one personally that I'm involved with is, all I'll say is that I've never had a monologue that's been as fun and also that required a fight call before doing it. And so that to me is one of my favorite parts. And also too, Mark kind of gave me some insight, but it's part of the enjoyment of it is that it also kind of gives a little bit of an insight into who William is. And I like being able to delve into that every night during that part of the show.
That's nice. I love William's relationship with his mother, and of course, unfortunately, Lillian Bogovich couldn't be with us tonight. But she is just a delight. Anyone who's ever worked with her will attest to that. She's just pure delight, and I love the relationship between William and his mother from the very first moments of the show. It's just, it's Lillian. That's so Lillian, right? Nice. Anybody else? What am I kicking on the floor there? That made a weird noise. Is anyone else have any questions for our artists?
I would like to say something about the first act, in defense of the first act.
In defense of the first act, which you are not in.
I'm not, so I can speak as a viewer. This is a group of actors, right? They're in a troupe. They are really close, and like you just really, I think, as actors as well. It is, even though this, you know, takes place however many years ago, it's still the same. Actors still interact the same way. You get them together. They've been working together. Like in the games of foot, they're going like this with Shakespeare lines. I give one, you give one. Maybe in the green room, we're going, you know, I say one thing, someone goes, oh, that's a line in a musical. They start singing, I start singing. Like it's even though so much time has passed, the bond of actors and that same kind of energy, it's the same. And it's just really fun to watch on stage, to watch, you know, all of these characters come in and to start exploring their relationships and seeing how bonded they are. And it's so much fun. I love it.
It's a really good point too, is that everyone in this play is an actor or a former actor or a wannabe actor. You know what I'm saying? Is that, I mean, I think Daria definitely was an actor before she became a columnist, and the inspector wants to be, has acting aspirations. So everyone understands what being an actor is like. And it also allows Ludwig the opportunity to allow things to get a little bit crazy or to allow the characters to pursue flights of fancy that you wouldn't really buy from somebody who was not an actor. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like, oh yes, oh maybe it's that, you know, and like go in directions that lead towards something farcical. It's a nice shortcut to get there. I think he did that on purpose. That he has everyone is connected to the theater in some way.
We also, it's an excellent point. Another comment in the chat. Dan says, another favorite moment is Alicia's entrance and shoe change. So funny.
I would agree with that. That's not just shoes, but gosh, that was all Mark. And he's like, I think you'd be wearing wellies. We'll have you change them on stage. And it's so funny. I love it. And I love those wellies. Never worn them before.
And you have a great wig too.
Yes, I very much enjoy my wig.
Yeah, there's a lot of good hair in this show. Absolutely. I think Naomi, you said something about your dress matching the, what did you say in the chat? You said your dress matched your shoes, your dress matched the set. What did you say?
That was Lauren.
Oh, that
But
was
I
Lauren,
did say I love my dress, and kudos and super shout out to Katie. But like when I had my first fitting, literally her and Mark were both like, oh, we aren't really fans of this skirt. We'll just bring it in a little. And when I saw it the second time, it was like a completely different dress. And she'd cut off the entire skirt and put on a whole new bottom and all these embellishments. And it is gorgeous.
Really beautiful. And beautiful production photos by Christian Pizzarani, who is our company photographer and is going to be in the next show, The Doll's House. So he won't be taking those production photos. His wife, Evelyn, will be. So, but she's also a great photographer. So that'll be fun. Speaking of next shows, does anybody have a show coming up, a role coming up that you'd like to plug now? Anybody got something going on next? Or just Christmas break? I think some
I
of the
will
faces
be
I'm seeing are in the faces of people being in callbacks or auditions right now and not sure yet. Am I right? Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I will be co-directing an ancient Sanskrit fantasy romance adventure fairy tale called Shakuntala at Foothill College in the springtime. So
what's
that's
it called?
Shakuntala.
Oh, Shakuntala. That's what you said. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
It's a lovely, very theatrical, you know. Anyways, so yes, that's what I'm doing. Co-directing with a former student who's now the production manager at San Francisco Shakespeare. So that's
Very
exciting.
nice. Very nice.
I'm going to be in a production of Legally Blonde at Foothill also.
Oh, great. Love that show.
That one's before Shakuntala. So
That's
that one's in March. Mine's is in May.
Okay. So it's all happening at Foothill is what you're saying next year. Good. And the last question that I always like to ask, which is just fun. Oh, wait. Oh, comment in the chat. Damien says, we can't forget Jordan and Olivia's invaluable contribution. Couldn't survive without them handling all the backstage operations. Jordan and Olivia, yes, are backstage folks. Olivia is our assistant stage manager. And yeah, running around nonstop.
Such a big help. I do not worry about anything. You know, we had a mishap on Sunday and I was like, they're going to figure it out. It'll be fine. And it's great. I'm very blessed. They're wonderful.
And on our Friday preview night, we had a patron who fell ill and we had to stop the show and he was fine. And I just was so impressed with how professionally everything was handled and how just with such care for the artists and the audience. It was very, I was an audience member, so I was watching from inside. And you all just, the show stopped and then it started up again and it was like nothing happened. I mean, it's just a bunch of pros. We're so glad that the patron was all right. So it's a great team all around. Yes, finger snapping, Tom. Absolutely. Okay, before we go, my favorite question I love to ask actors, what is your dream role you haven't yet played? Anybody got one? Go. And Mark too, because Mark's an actor too.
Someone speak up.
And Alicia, don't say Dot in Sunday in the Park with George because A, you've already played it, and B, that's my dream role, so I get it next. No dream role.
All right, there's one that I have always wanted to play and know I never will, and that's Renfield in Dracula. And look at all those. Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, the guy
We're
that
seeing you in a new light
eats
now.
rats. Okay.
Yeah.
Jamie, in Moon for the Misbegotten.
Good one. Good. And Carol says in the chat, I'm hearing City Lights needs to do Dracula. Okay, Tom, clear some space in your schedule.
There's not a lot of good Dracula scripts out there.
I
Anybody
am
else?
still
Yeah.
waiting for somebody to do Dreamgirls. So
Dreamgirls, nice.
yes,
I would pay good money to
Dina.
see Dreamgirls.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm a musical fan. I want to play Veronica in Heathers.
Excellent.
If we're talking about roles that I'm never going to play, one that I've always wanted to play was Willie Loman in Death of the Salesman. That's another
And we're all
one.
going like, oh, interesting. You never know.
Yeah, gender swap kind of thing.
Yeah.
You could see that. Yeah.
This is cheating a little bit because I did it in high school as like a student thing, but I've always wanted to give another crack as an adult at Kathy in the last 5 years.
Nice. Okay. I think we've just figured out City Lights next season because all these sound amazing.
Damien hasn't chimed in yet.
Damien, you got one?
I haven't given that much thought. I've and I feel bad because I don't actually know the name of the character, but the priest in Doubt, the main guy. I forgot the character, but I think that would be
Oh, that's a great part.
Yeah, it's a great part. But you know, after watching Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think I'd be pretty intimidated. But yeah, I saw that play on Broadway, and it was it's a great role.
Yeah, definitely. Mark, Carol mentioned in the chat that if there's not a good Dracula, you should write one. So,
do you know of any good ones, Tom? I mean, I haven't.
Good ones, what? I'm sorry.
Good Draculas. I've
not encountered any, and I was just somebody asked about Hair in the chat. City Lights did Hair in 1998.
That far back, I just guessed 2009. I was way off. Yeah. Oh, and
actually, I think did they redo it? I think they redid it.
They redid it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they did.
It's been done twice.
Of the 2009 one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mark, Katie's going to costume your Dracula. So I mean, look, you've got an actor, you've got a costume designer. Yeah.
I know Jeffrey Hatcher too. I'm sure he's written one. I can't believe that Jeffrey Hatcher hasn't written one, but I'll email him and ask him to write one.
One of the scripts that I read for a Dracula show, it was not good. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad Draculas out there.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I can remember reading it.
It's a really hard story to adapt. It's not.
Well,
it's deceptively hard.
Well, then my other dream role will be Dracula after Mark writes the story. Then that'll be my next.
Okay, Lisa, we're so this is Lisa, our executive artistic director at City Lights. We're planning next season for you because everyone's saying their dream roles. So
oh my gosh,
we got Dreamgirls, we got Dracula, we got a bunch of stuff. We got the last 5 years. So there you go. We got your season for you.
I love it. I love that kind of support. Yeah, Dracula is really hard because it's hard to make it not funny. Like I want it to be funny, but it always feels over the top, you know.
Were you there for the one that we did at CTC? That Graham directed. Yeah, and I rewrote tons of it because it was so horrible. And I was just like, okay.
Did I cut that part out before I put this on YouTube?
It's okay. It's okay. Everyone's in different places now.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I
mean, I remember seeing a touring production with Martin Landau when I was an undergrad in college, because I remember I did a review of it for the Santa Clara newspaper, and I remember that one being pretty good, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who wrote it or anything, but maybe the Martin Landau, maybe there's some research to be done there.
I was in one years ago at PCBA Theater Fest, and that one wasn't very good either. Like, it's just hard. It's a hard one. So, but it sounds like you guys came up with other good ones. So
yeah, I was asking everybody what their dream roles were, and there's a lot of good stuff that came up that I was like, yeah,
that's so cool. I can't
would
wait
see
to
Naomi
hear
in
all
dream
of them.
roles. Yep.
You know, we looked into that once. And it is such a huge costume show. You have to have tons of bucks up front in order to do that show. And then I got nervous about, should it be our company that's doing that show? But I think I've kind of like figured out, well, maybe I'm not the one that directs it, you know? So just to make it feel like it's a little bit more appropriate and whose story are we telling? But it is a great show. The music is fantastic. But yeah, the costumes are crazy. And the set's pretty hard too, because you move around a lot. Katie.
Wait, which one are we talking about? Sorry.
Dream Girls?
Dream got it.
Yeah.
I know we've just been throwing out so many dream roles and dream shows. It was like, oh, wait a minute.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I welcome any of you to go ahead and let me know at any time what, plays that you really like. It happens a lot. I have people do that, multiple times a week. And so what I'm saying is it's okay. I won't always be able to get to all of them, but it's okay to do that. I asked Mark full on. All right, Mark, what do you got? What are your ideas?
Yeah.
You know that Betty's summer vacation is perennially on my list, but
oh my gosh, is that still on your list?
It still is, to direct.
I have not read that for so long, Tom. Do you know if it stands up? Like sometimes
Probably
things
not.
I loved 10 years ago, I read
It's
them
a
now, and I'm
museum
like,
piece by now, but
yeah, I know. Some things you're just like, you just can't say those things anymore now, That's funny. That's the ceiling falling, right?
The set collapses at the end, but it can be done with lights.
Cool. I just wanted to say hi. I didn't mean to like photo bomb you all.
No,
I had a
it's okay.
crazy
We're
day
just
and there was
wrapping
so much
up.
traffic. And I just was like, I love this group so much. I just wanted to jump on and say hello.
Lisa, I just want to say one thing related to what you said that people may not realize. You're saying you love it when actors bring you ideas. For those of you who saw Every Brilliant Thing, which started off our 22-23 season, that with Tassi Alabastro brought that script to you and said, I'm really interested in this, and it took off from there. And he did speaking, and Dane Lentz was signing, and it was and I think probably you would agree with this, that sometimes the play has even that much more heart when the actor is the one who brings it to you. So that's really special.
He wanted to tell that story. And at first I said, oh, I don't think so. One man show, one female show, whatever, one human shows are really hard to sell. And we are in post-pandemic trying to recover mode financially. And then I read it and I loved it. And then I thought, ooh, sign language opportunity here. And so I'm like, I don't care if it doesn't make any money. Let's do it. But it did fine. It did fine. But I loved that show. Tassi said something funny to me at the end of that show. He said, I should do that show someday, which had never occurred to me while I was directing it. Like never. But in the script, it says it can be any age, any ethnicity, any gender. Like it doesn't matter. It's just about communication. And then now I'm like, oh, I can't do it at City Lights because we just did that, but that would be super fun. I would love to do that someday.
All right, folks. Well, I have to sign off because I have 2 little boys who need to go to bed. And my husband's texting me from the next room, so I need to go. But I thank you all so much. I love these. It's just such a pleasure to connect with everybody across the miles like this.